All right. So we're going to get right into it. Head honcho guy?
Yes, let's begin. You're
right.
live.
Let's get into the first fight. Gutierrez versus Morales.
Hang on. You got to do the intro first.
What's the intro?
I'm not going to start recording. I don't know. You got to say
hi. What's the intro? Hi, I'm Nick. Hi, you're Glenn. You look like a truck driver. We're going to talk about fights.
Yes, this is Diggle Sauce and Reputed G back at it for our second ever video.
Actually, we became. Did you know we became the leader in MMA betting and DraftKings videos last week? Did you know that?
I didn't even know that was a thing.
We're the best. We're the best MMA video on the internet.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised. That was a Diaz reference. Good job. I see what you did there. All right, MMA fans and more or less gambling fans. You don't have to be a fan of MMA to enjoy gambling. You don't have to, gamble to enjoy MMA, but we prefer to do both. So this is it. This is the podcast. We're going to go fight by fight. We're going to talk about it from a DraftKings point of view and also from sports betting point of view, kind of give our takes. They're going to be hot and probably bad, and you might lose money. But that's kind of what you have to do when you go into this. You just gotta have low expectations. Set the bar down here and rise to the occasion.
They're gonna be hot and they're gonna be bad. I love it.
Yeah, but also keep in mind whenever we talk about DraftKings and things like that, me and Reputed over here, we both put in 20 lineups. Whatever your dollar amount is, that's kind of like what we do. It's our recommendation. You get to cover a lot of variables and stuff like that because at the end of the day, one lineup is good. It's fun to put in like the big contest, but if you're trying to win money over time, you just want to have a good process and kind of give yourself as many, shots on goal, as many chances to win as possible. So
yeah, and we do like $15 and single entries and all kinds of stuff, but for purposes of like talking like draft and participation, ownership, things like that, it's usually for like a 20 entry. 150 entries is going to be totally different.
Yeah, and like in my at least history of betting MMA and DraftKings, the best approach that I've had is start small. If you want to start with 20 entries in a 25-cent contest or even a 10-cent contest, start there to keep working it out and work your way up to eventually the $15 contest where you got chances at a $100,000 prize and things like that.
The Millie Maker next week.
Next week. Yeah. So this is a warm up for our $1 million win. And then not only will we have the best fight podcast on the internet, we will also be millionaires. So that'll be great.
It's a twofer.
Yeah.
All right, let's start. We got Chris Gutierrez versus Vince Morales is the first fight of the night. Give me your shakedown on these guys.
So my first take on this is, I'll keep referencing this throughout this card. This is being held at the UFC Apex Center, so there is no fans, and the cage is a little bit smaller. So it's a smaller cage. So personally, I think that benefits Morales. Gutierrez likes to stay on the outside. He plays with leg kicks a lot. Morales has shown that he can be heavy on his front foot, really likes to throw hands, but he eats leg kicks. And, neither of these guys is like defensively a great fighter. I would say Gutierrez is going to be more on the outside. He's going to take shots. And I think Morales is going to really just look better with the hands. And, whenever you have a kicker versus somebody who's going to throw kind of better hands, and you can see that on tape. I think Morales just, he just has more crisp boxing. The judges, I don't know in Vegas. I think your judging is hopefully going to be pretty good. But in Vegas, usually it's better. But, I mean, in the eyes of the judges, generally they're going to value the crisper boxing more than, leg kicks and body kicks and staying on the outside. So I think Morales is going to appear to be more aggressive and be more of the round winner in this fight. And he now in terms of stopping Gutierrez, I don't know if that's going to happen. But so in this fight, I have Morales by decision. I think he's a decent underdog pick in DraftKings, but I'm not going to have like huge exposure to him.
Yeah, so I have basically the same read. From what I can tell, Gutierrez is like primarily wants to just throw leg kicks, and he also likes to back up quite a bit. Like he's not like aggressively marching forward, slapping kicks. He's waiting to get a shot and then kind of peel off. His hands are way less active. Morales too. If you just look at the UFC website, the strike differential is almost 5 for Morales strikes per minute versus 3.5 for Gutierrez, which is significant over the course of a fight. I think he'll look more aggressive too because in all of Morales' fights, if you watch him, he's actively pushing forward, and Gutierrez isn't. Gutierrez is kind of hanging out, winning decisions. I was surprised that Gutierrez was the favorite on the odds lines originally because I think he originally was like 120, minus 120, minus 130, something like that, and it's gotten closer the whole time. So I think maybe people are wising up to the opening line. I actually think I'm going to play some Morales in here because I think that with his style, where he's going to be like has to get inside the pocket or more inside the pocket to land his strikes, and he's going to throw more of them, and he's going to be pushing Gutierrez up in a smaller cage. I think that creates more conflict. There's less ways to move out, and there's more action. And I think Gutierrez will struggle because he's not going to have the same exits that he's used to.
Agreed.
So he's going to be forced to fight. And if that happens, I think that Morales, not that he's going to like one-shot KO him, like it's not the touch of death or anything, but I could see him like starting to land the shots and they're piling up, and all of a sudden, they go on the cage and he goes down, or some kind of an early TKO.
I like that take. I think it's a good read because I agree. I agree with it. But yeah, I think probably my take on why the betting line was what it was, just really quickly, was I think it's as simple as these are undercard fighters. Gutierrez is 2-1 in the promotion, and Morales is 1-2. Morales did fight a similar outfighter in Zahabi. He's fought the better competition. I mean, he fought Benito Lopez. He fought Song Yadong.
Yeah.
Went to decision with both those guys. He did lose those fights, but a lot of people thought he beat Benito Lopez, who's probably he hit him with a lot of leg kicks and things like that. I don't know if Gutierrez is going to hit him with like harder leg kicks or better kick than Lopez.
Is totally different.
Yeah,
and Lopez too. Lopez was landing like, I think maybe not harder kicks, but more volume of kicks that were meant to push Morales back and keep him at bay. He wasn't letting him come inside, and every time he started to come in, he'd get teep kicked or kicked a foot to the chest. Like, he was keeping him out. I mean, it was hard to come in on him. I think his volume, Benito Lopez's volume, is way higher than Chris Gutierrez.
Yeah, agreed. So we both like Morales. I would probably say our percentages are going to be pretty close. You might have a little bit more of him in DraftKings than I do, but I'll definitely have him in a couple lineups. The next fight,
real quick, just a DraftKings perspective too. I think that he scores okay in a decision, especially with the price tag on him, because he is. I just lost it. I had
79. He's 7,900.
Okay, so he's 7,900 for Morales, but I think he could score like 60 to 70 or more in a decision pretty reasonably. Like, the floor is pretty high for him, but if he TKOs, gets a finish in the second or third, it could pop up.
Yeah, agreed. Next fight is sponsored by. No, I'm just kidding. It's not. But, we're not that. We don't have that kind of production value yet, but we're working on it. We're working on sponsors. So if anybody wants to,
Pellegrino will be written all over.
Yeah. Hey, don't say that. We might get sued or taken off YouTube or whatever. Can you not? I don't know, dude. I mean, our hundreds of viewers might report us. Well, to the Pellegrino powers that be.
Advanced Pellegrino.
Okay, so Casey,
sparkling water.
The fine people at Pellegrino. All right, well, we got the next fight is Luis Alcoholic Smolka, your boy, going against my boy Casey Kenney. So this is going to be just a chaotic little man fight. These guys are small. They're going to look like the tumbleweeds going around the octagon the whole time. It's a small cage, so expect a ton of grappling. Luis
or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think you should expect grappling here. I think Luis Smolka is kind of just, he will go where the fight goes. He's looking to he's opportunistic. He's looking to get like a flying knee or some kind of opportunistic finish. He does go for finish and grappling exchanges, but I just think Casey's a better fighter than him, and I don't trust Smolka at all. So I think Kenney could just like really win this fight pretty for the most part, like 8 out of 10 times he wins this fight against Smolka.
Yeah.
I just think he's more skilled. Smolka could have an opportunistic finish, but I can't bet on this. I don't see anything in Smolka's game that's better than Casey Kenney. I can't trust Smolka. I never have trusted Smolka.
I have something. So here's the thing. Casey Kenney is a favorite. When I was first looking at this, your first reaction is like, yeah, for sure, Kenny's going to smash him. And then you're thinking about it a little bit more, and you're like, because Smolka has like a habit of just laying on the mat and trying to spin around and triangle people until he's finished. But he also has a huge losing streak, and there's all kinds of problems with Smolka. But in his last fight, he moved up a weight class. He looked much healthier and not like a total stick man. And he laid a pace on, I think it was McDonald, and he landed like over 100 significant strikes. I think on DraftKings it says like 96 or something. But he was throwing volume. Like he had a good pace going. Casey Kenney in some of his more recent fights has had to do more striking. Against Devalshvili, he was getting taken down, and that's like a special case, right? That's not like your average wrestler or grappler. But he had to strike, and he didn't look great striking. And Louis Smolka was throwing crazy volume. So I was kind of struggling with like the striker output versus Kenny's ability to strike. I think Smolka is probably the better striker, and based on volume, and certain, if not power. But I think that they're going to strike a little bit more maybe than anticipated, because I think Kenney knows that he has to elevate his striking game to become like a world-class guy. He can't just wrestle forever. So I think this is a good opportunity for him to try and strike a little bit. But I was looking at the odds, and I'm like, if it's going to be like that, it doesn't really make sense. But ultimately, Smolka has terrible takedown defense, and he will go to the mat easily and willingly. And those are going to look like big scores for Casey. So in DraftKings, he's never scored over 88 points, and I don't expect him to score over 88. Was it tomorrow, 2 days from now? I do. So.
I do. I think he could easily just continue to take down Smolka time after time.
Smolka's not going to get up. Smolka will just lay there with him.
Yeah, that could be a point too. But if Smolka tries to get up and tries to scramble at all, he'll continuously get.
I think he's too comfortable on his back. Like he's happy to be on his back and just working subs. And Kenney is kind of happy to just sit in the guard. Like he's not actively trying to pass into side or anything else. He's just kind of hanging out. And because he's like very wrestling heavy to me, and Smolka looks more like an evolved striker and like a jiu-jitsu guy.
I mean, the grappling, I think it's Kenney. I think Kenny's been very impressive in terms of grappling. I see no way that Smolka could offensively grapple against Kenney. So that puts a black mark against Smolka.
He could potentially sub him from his back. That's about it.
I mean.
I think it's a low percentage thing, though, right?
Yeah, it's a low percentage thing. Listen, I think if you want to put money, hard-earned American dollars on Louis Smolka, I mean, be my guest. But I want to warn the audience that hard-earned American dollars being wagered on Louis Smolka historically has been very, very dumb to do with hard-earned American dollars.
Well, I decided I think
it's Bitcoin. If you've made a move on Bitcoin lately and you want to wager some Bitcoin, maybe some Canadian dollars, you have a different form of currency, maybe.
It's okay. But I think Kenney wins a decision, 3-round decision against Smolka, largely due to just takedowns and slightly more strikes landed while he's on top.
Right. And so I'm going to go to the next fight, which I think that, so
Smolka's an okay dog in a few lineups, though.
Not for me, but okay for you.
If you want to get adventurous, like he has ways to win. He has ways to win.
Okay.
If it's a striking fest or sub.
Let me put this to you like this, Mr. 20 lineup man and Mr. betting underdog man.
I'll put him in 1.
Okay. We then look at the next fight.
I'm there. I'm with you.
You're there. Okay, so we have Brandon Royval against Tim Elliott, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Tim Elliott is considered the offensive wrestler, going to be very active. He does gas, but he's very active, correct? And he's a pretty substantial favorite right now, correct?
He minus 170 last night.
Why not take a better shot instead of going for Smolka, that we take a better shot on Royval, who is a very opportunistic grappler, a very good grappler, and Elliott has proven that he can be subbed. I mean, he's been subbed a lot in his career. And he leaves a lot of openings. He's got bad defense on the ground. He's got bad defense on the feet.
He's got bad everything at this point.
He's wild and he's old.
So here's the thing. I spent like more time going back and forth on Brandon Royval and Tim Elliott than any other fight. Spike Carlyle was having trouble with too for a while. But I watched a lot of tape on Elliott and Royval and like just trying to like understand what they're doing. And ultimately what I came down to is this. Brandon Royval fought in the same regional circuit as Casey Kenney. Casey Kenney steamrolls him. MMA math tells me that Tim Elliott will then steamroll Brandon Royval. And also my vindication for that is that he took down Askar Askarov like 4, 5, 6 times in his fight. And Askarov's like a pretty solid grappler from Mother Russia area. I think he's from even Dagestan or whatever. I don't think Royval has the same wrestling or grappling, and I've seen Kenney basically lay him down. So then the next question is like, how's the striking? From what I saw, a lot of his fights, like he's dynamic. Like he has dynamic strikes. He threw a Yair Rodriguez like over the shoulder in one of his regional tapes. He didn't knock the guy out, but he hit him with it, or I guess that way. He also, the guy who was fighting for the belt, he went to take him down. He jumped up and threw a leg over the top. I mean, he's got like cool dynamic strikes. But if you're smaller and you have a gap in your wrestling defense or like takedown defense, I think that there's a good chance Tim Elliott will take him down there and then just lay down his 175 strikes or whatever.
There's a good chance of that. That's why he's the favorite. But my point is, I think there's a better chance of, and I'm laughing about the MMA math because that's pretty funny. But I think there's a better. I think Royval makes a way better dog than Smolka because I think, he's ascending versus descending, and
for sure, 100%.
And I think that he's shown, at least for me, I mean, he's got very active hips in the jiu-jitsu game, which means he's dangerous. I mean, he's super dangerous. And Elliott is going to have to work to keep him down. So if Elliott takes him down, I've seen gas tank issues with Elliott, a lot of them. So, I mean, Elliott's probably going to look good in the first round, but as that fight wears on, I don't know, man. Royval might start to look good.
I think that all the guys Elliott's fought too are like some of the best. Like he fought.
They are.
Like
that's
Demetrius
no
Johnson. He fought against
one round. His claim to fame is winning a round against Demetrius Johnson. It's like winning a title at that time.
He fought Figueiredo. Like Askar Askarov, I actually thought he was winning just based on the pressure and the strikes thrown, and he lost the decision. But I mean, I think he's fought really, really solid wrestlers and jiu-jitsu guys. And Figueiredo's now like essentially the champion of the division. This is the first guy who might be a little softer in the wrestling department, and I think Elliott probably take advantage of it. I mean, if you slam Askarov 6 times to the mat, you've got something going on.
And I mean, to be totally fair to this betting line, I think that happens more times than not. But I think that it's okay to take shots on Royval, and that's kind of one of my plays this week. I think Royval by submission is an interesting play. So I'll have that.
Also, I take back. He didn't take Askarov down 6 times. He took him down 3 on DraftKings, but I think there's also a little cage jilly wiggling going on over there.
Cage muggling?
Yeah, like a little, we're kind of down.
Muggles?
I mean, he's going to be on. Like, he wants his chest on another man at some point in that fight.
Yeah, but I think it's going to be a fun fight to watch because it's going to be, the pace will be there. I think you want to pick a side in this fight. You definitely want to pick a side in this fight because
that's what some of the other guys say too. They say if Royval wins, he's going to score a lot because he's going to submit him in the first or second probably. But if he doesn't submit him, I think he's going to have problems.
Well, yeah, just because Tim Elliott just has crazy activity and
he's a total maniac, man.
The maniac, yeah. But these are fights in DraftKings where it's like if you're making 20 lineups, like. At least, I mean, this is going to sound crazy, but probably 15 of them should have someone from this fight.
Yeah, maybe something like that. But the thing about Elliott too is like I've died on the last 2 fights with him. Like I keep
died on the Elliott hill.
Yeah, because
You like
I
his
was
numbers.
hot.
I know
I
you
was
like his
hot for that
numbers.
number, and I wanted
Yeah,
it, and it didn't happen. I think it's a new era for Elliott where he's not the
yeah.
dominant dude anymore. But a guy making
He
his
never.
debut,
The thing is he never really was, man. He never really was that. I mean, he
I think
won
he
around
was in
against
his head,
Demetrius
which made him
Johnson.
halfway there. Like
I mean,
if you're in the
that was,
cage with Demetrius Johnson, you've gone far enough.
you have, but that's what I'm saying. His best accomplishment ever in MMA is winning around against Demetrius Johnson.
And
Not never won a
maybe
fight.
Saturday night. Nah, the
Yeah,
DraftKings night with 175 points was pretty solid too.
yeah. If you were there for that,
I've only had 2 losses with them, but
that was 3 years ago.
we gotta just try once more.
We got to
Also, I
move
don't
on.
like guys debuting. I don't like debut fighters against veterans. So it's not my thing.
Normally, I would agree with you, but I think Royval has experience and he's a champion in LFA, which take that for what it is. But I think the guy can fight. I think the guy can fight. So
Well, we'll find out.
yeah, Jamal. Okay, wait, I'm gonna say his name wrong. Jamal. How do you say his name?
I think it's just Jamahal.
Is it Jamal? It's just spelled a little funny, but
I'll
it's
text him
Jamal.
and find out. But
Yeah,
I think
thanks. Call his agent. Jamal Hill against Klidson Abreu, who, oh my gosh, if Jamal Hill can't win this fight, I don't think his days are. I think his days are pretty numbered in the UFC because I think Abreu's days are numbered in the UFC. So Hill won a decision against Darko Stosic, who is like just like a bowling ball of a man. But I think that fight was kind of a strange one, if I remember right.
I just watched it last night.
Yeah, it was a strange one, right? There was some ball kicking and things like that.
Well, it's because Stosic or whatever his name is, he looks like a tank, right? He's like Russian tank coming to the octagon to smash, but his footwork is like some of the most atrocious I've ever seen.
Right.
He can't close distance. And he just throws like he's winging haymakers or left hooks. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like everything you
From
don't want in a striker.
40 feet away.
Yeah, and he's a huge dude, and like you'd think he'd take guys down. Like Jamal Hill's like 9 feet tall. You'd think maybe suck out a leg and go. It doesn't really happen. I think his fight IQ or his coaching is terrible. His footwork's terrible.
We're talking about Stosic, right?
Stosic, yeah, Stosic.
Okay.
So, Darko. I mean, I thought he looked cool when he was in there, fighting, but I don't think he's a good fighter. I think he's scary to get hit by, but that's about it. And Jamal is so big, and he's basically Jamal does a thing though, which I want to point out, which keep an eye on it if you're going to research this at all. He takes both of his hands, and it's not like a full Muay Thai clinch behind the neck, but he'll put both his hands like on your head and try to throw knees. And he does it almost in slow motion, like he's doing it to his little brother. Like he'll just take him by the head after throwing something and start trying to knee him repeatedly, and that's where he gets popped because people are like, "What are you doing?" and they throw hooks.
Yeah, they throw hooks around his clinch.
Right, and that's one thing that Abreu does is throw like he doesn't really throw a lot of straight punches. It's mostly just like power hooks.
Yeah, but they're not like he doesn't. I've never seen him throw like good short hooks.
No,
like,
no, no.
I mean, it's
He's
looping.
winging them.
It's very
But it's just something to think of.
It's not technical.
Also, aren't they? I think they're like closer in height than Stosic because Darko is a smaller guy. So that Jamal Hill, from what I can tell, his strikes don't have like a ton of steam on them. I think he
throws a lot of volume for the weight class.
Yeah, yeah. He threw like 90 plus strikes in his last fight against Darko, which is great. His leg kicks are like I don't know. I just don't think he has a lot of power behind any of it. I think he's throwing high volume, low power. He was the matador with Stosic. That's great. The only thing is though is I think he's like a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, and Klidson Abreu is I think like a 4-time champion of the world, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I kind of so I don't know if you remember this, but when we once upon a time had this talk about Abreu when he debuted in the UFC against Ankalaev, and I kind of was on that train of I think this guy is going to be able to submit him once he gets him down, and he could never get him down. His wrestling is not good, to say the least. I mean, I'm not
Ankalaev is good though.
Yeah, and so I mean, Klidson. I mean, And then he wins against a decision against Sam Alvey, I believe Sam Alvey felt he was robbed in that fight, which he feels he's robbed in every fight. But
Is he
it's
still
just
in the UFC, by the way?
yeah, he just fought. Remember when we came back from quarantine, or when they had their first card back, he was on it.
Didn't he lose?
Yeah, he always loses.
I know, but is he still in, or they cut him?
I mean, how could you cut Smiling Sam Alvey?
I mean, I hope they do.
When you need a 13th fight on the card, who do you call in Australia?
when you need a 13th,
when you need a 26th man in the middle of Perth, Australia, who do you call? You know, do you call
there's
Sam
one
Alvey?
man will show up.
But I like Hill in this fight because I think the volume, and I just think Abreu's he's just not good, and he's pretty old.
Yeah,
I mean, I know that's not real analysis, but there's not a ton of actionable information other than Hill is longer, will throw volume strikes, don't think he has knockout power. Abreu could win by submission, but he has no real good way to get it down to the ground. He may be able to land a lucky.
That he can't get. But do you think he can get Jamahal down?
No.
I see. No, you don't think so?
I mean, if Jamahal Hill gets taken down in the small cage, I mean, because he gets wrestled against the cage for a while, I mean, I don't know.
If Abreu gets on the inside, though, even if they're standing up, I mean, he could potentially grip him up behind the back, right? You get 2 double underhooks or something. Can he trip him? I
don't think he's good. He has good technique to get.
Do you think he's just totally checked out and collecting paychecks?
I mean, I think he's pretty dusty, man. I think Klidson and Abreu is pretty dusty.
Yeah,
I don't want to say this. I don't want to say this to his face because he's still way, way bigger than me. But I would put you in front of me so you could say it to him because you're about his size.
Yes, excellent. Well, yeah, I mean, his significant strikes suck. If it goes to decision, Jamahal should win pretty good. My issue on scoring, though, with this is Jamahal scores at a rate of, in his last fight, and if he repeats that, he was at Jamahal Hill. He scores 81 points. So he cost 8,400. He scored 81. Potentially he has problems here because I think Abreu hits probably more frequently than Stosic. I don't know if that matters. I don't think. Yeah, but I don't think that Jamahal Hill's going to land 120 significant strikes or 140. I don't think his score is going to keep going up. I think that's probably about where it's going to be, if not lower.
I think he's a good play. I will say that he's a good play because I think the volume is repeatable against a fighter like Abreu.
Yeah, I just wonder.
Who doesn't have any striking defense, who gasses. It's just not.
But Stosic also didn't land a whole lot of volume with that power on Jamahal Hill. And I wonder if Abreu lands even a little bit more, or especially the leg kicks. I think Jamahal Hill hasn't been tested, is my point. And I don't think that he's going to score really well against Abreu. I don't think he's optimal, even at 8,400. I think there's probably guys who score over 100 that make it better. And for that reason, I will have a little bit of Abreu because I think the Jamahal Hill play is I think it's a little overrated. I don't think it's going to be that good.
Fair enough. Let's go to the next one. We got to keep moving here.
We're almost on pace.
Yeah, we are the best podcast out there, best YouTube channel, and we're sponsored now, so we got to keep going.
Thank you, Pellegrino.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Tell me about Spike Carlyle and Billy Quarantillo. Billy Q is known.
I was gonna go to the replacement fight because we'll get to the Spike fight, but let's go to the next fight of the card, which is Gabe. I think you're skipping ahead, sir, because that got moved up the card.
It's on the main card.
Yeah,
because the whole Sherdog list here that I print out.
They don't, Glenn. They don't sponsor us, so don't say their name. So we need to talk about a certain your boy Kevin Holland dropping out. Unfortunate. Daniel Rodriguez against Gabe Green. What do we think? There's footage on Green out there because he fought in Bellator. It's just how do you feel about Daniel Rodriguez?
I looked at this and mostly it's MMA math on this one for me. He submits Tim Means in his debut in the UFC. Tim Means is like the dirty bird, right? He's a big dude. He's tough, except when he fights Nico Price. He's a veteran. So to me, that's a pretty solid win. He also landed 49 strikes and a knockdown before it happens. So I like everything about that. I think that's like a solid person if you're gonna knock someone off early to go for. The Gabriel Green though, you got to look him up on the website that cannot be mentioned, and they got him on here. His last fight is how long ago? August of 2018. So it's 2019, 2020. It's almost 2 years. I mean, he was winning fights, but like CXF 14, Combate Americas, which we were betting on the other night. These aren't like world beaters in there. I mean, these are like, it's like a growth. It's like the minor leagues for UFC. So I don't see any names on here that are like shockers. I mean, it's not like he knocked off Fedor in like a Combate Americas fight or something like. I think he's probably last minute late call. Oh, and the other thing too, which shout out to the BB Bomb man. He knew something that I didn't. They're fighting it. Are they fighting catchweight, or is it just a weight class up?
That's how I understand it. They're fighting at a catchweight.
It's either, I forget the note here, but it's either a catchweight or a weight up. So you got a guy on like 3 days notice fighting in a weight class he's not normally in. I think it's from, was it lightweight to welter?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, it says he's a lightweight.
My quick take on this is that when we used to see Green fight, the competition was low, but he was dangerous. And Rodriguez fought a very tough guy in Tim Means in 2020, so February 2020 this year, and won, and looked pretty good doing it. So, I mean,
everything is going against Gabriel Green though. Like I even stuff that normally you can't even contemplate. Like there's a weight class change. Normally, when you see these guys fighting on short notice up a weight class, they get smashed. The only exception is Boondock Saints, man. The guy out of Canada, the Boondock Saint.
Yeah, but he fought that silly back.
Michelle Pereira.
Yeah.
Oh man, what a night that was.
I'm rubbing my forehead in anguish.
Dude, he was the biggest underdog on a card, like a $6,900 guy on DraftKings, and he just survived and laid his little pepper punches into Michelle Pereira all night long.
So because the price tag is so cheap on our friends,
that's the whole issue.
Yeah. So, we have to have a little Gabe Green because, I mean...
Oh, you're saying have Gabriel Green?
A little bit. Just like one or two lineups because the price tag is so low. And the price tag on Rodriguez is so low that I probably want more. So he's going to be probably the highest owned fighter on the card. I think that's easy. So
the thing is I don't know that most people, I mean, maybe people that watch a video like this. Like
it was similar to...
it was a fight 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago.
Giga fight.
Chookagian against who was that other guy?
My little man. So same fight. Let's say Daniel Rodriguez is going to be over 50% owned, but not more than 60% because it's the same situation essentially. Gabe Green, dangerous, I think. And if you spike a lineup with Gabe Green at 5% ownership,
but this is a Smolka call. Like I think, he's
I
super
think he's
low
better
ownership.
than Smolka, to be honest with you.
Maybe, but this is low chance. Like he has everything possible going against him.
Agreed.
So I think the problem is that Rodriguez was an underdog originally against Kevin Holland, and I like Kevin Holland a lot, as we saw 2 weeks ago. But against Kevin Holland, I don't like Rodriguez at all. But Rodriguez against this guy like coming out of his mom's basement with 3 days notice, I'll take Rodriguez all day. And they didn't change the salary costs.
So the other thing I want to caution though
dog
too.
Money for a favorite.
Yeah, the other thing I want to caution though about fights like this is that whenever you see these insane flips where like Rodriguez was an underdog and a big underdog, and now he's a giant favorite, it's like we got to, it's only Thursday. I recommend everybody doing some more research on this because there's a lot of money-making potential if you see something in Gabriel Green. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I have to watch a few more fights and get I got to get deep on Gabriel Green research because I don't know what he's been doing for the past 2 years.
Well, that's one thing, and two is like the weight differential can be pretty significant. Like Rodriguez might be 30 pounds heavier than him or something on fight night. I mean, it's going to be a big difference.
Yeah. So we're gonna have to see what kind of shape he is in the weigh-in too.
But
I think
that's
that'll tell us a lot.
yeah, we checked that out. The main thing is though is the moral story is you can buy Rodriguez, who's now a big favorite, like minus 360,
Yeah.
for underdog money. Essentially, like you'd be paying like the same as
Yeah.
like,
So I mean, in 20 lineups, I think your strategy here in 20 lineups should be, I mean, are you over? Or are you under? That's the big question because
I'm high. I'm high.
You're over. Okay. Okay.
Because I think it's like the odds of him scoring 71 points in a win, super good.
I will point this out. I will point this out really quick because you're right about the odds. But if you're in a DraftKings format, this is just a little DFS knowledge here. If you're playing one lineup to win, you should not have Daniel Rodriguez. In fact, you should be looking at Gabe Green more. If you're playing 150 lineups, you should have a lot more Daniel Rodriguez.
So I know what you're saying. You're talking game theory. Like, you need to have the low odds guys, but also
no. It's just you are playing. If you're playing one lineup to win, my theory, my standpoint on the game theory of it is that I would be looking to get off Daniel Rodriguez as much as possible.
I don't think you can though, because the reason is because for $7,100, you get a guy who finishes him in the second round, let's say, and scores 105 points. That's on the optimal lineup no matter what. Like you're not going to be able to get a guy that cheap that can score that well, unless there's some weird, something that happens. But for me, it's a little bit different. I first think like, who do I actually think is going to win this fight? Because that's going to dictate which way I'm going to bet, regardless.
Yeah.
And I think that there's every chance in the world that the guy who just fought in the UFC beats Tim Means via finish in the second round, going against a guy on a 2-year hiatus at a higher weight class on 3 days' notice. Like that's like it's either going to be a comma worthy, like, oh God, why didn't I watch more tape, or it's going to be just a smash fest. I don't think it's going to be a competitive fight.
Fair enough.
And if I'm right, you owe me a chicken burrito.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna move on because we got a little bit different takes on that last fight, and
you think they'll play Gabriel Green like it's some percentage for differentiation?
Yeah, that's my theory on it, and I think that if you can find a way off Daniel Rodriguez, it's giant leverage against the rest of the field, especially with in a contest where there's $150,000 to first place.
What was the Giga ownership last week? That's a better way to gauge it.
It was about 53. So I think most people will kind of go back to that and see that. And I don't think he was in the winning lineup, if I remember correctly.
Giga.
So
that Giga man. I think he could have finished him too. Some guys just don't go for the jugular at the end there.
Yeah. But, okay, so let's move on to Antonina Schevchenko's sister of Valentina, who I think is like the most well-rounded, complete, just absolute unit of a fighter and has won me more money than anything else I've done in this world.
I just want to say, how screwed up is it that you just fight Valentina Shevchenko and get your S pushed in, and then immediately after that, the UFC says, you know what? You just got beat up by a girl with a gun on her, tattooed on her. We're going to give you her sister. And she likes to hit people too.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, man.
It's like, did Chookagian do something wrong? I feel like she broke a vase at the UFC office or something.
You know what's funny though? I feel like the UFC probably hates Chookagian as much as I do, because this is, if I was booking Chookagian, this is what I would do to her, because I just hate her fighting style. It's
puff, man.
Yeah, it's very unaggressive. It's very point oriented. She's a point fighter. I feel like UFC matchmakers hate that. They just hate it. They hate it like me, and they just want to see her suffer. So get in there with another Shevchenko, and good luck.
She hosed my DraftKings in Chicago back in old June 8th of 19. We were sitting there having a great night. We're watching it. We're like, hey, Calderwood looks good. She's laying it on her. And they go, Chookagian by decision. And everyone was like,
believe it.
But also,
you hate to see it.
I think Calderwood scored almost as many points as
I thought she outscored her.
Yeah, with a loss. It was like, it's unfathomable.
Gambling stories, people. Gambling stories. You'll have them too soon. And pretty soon you'll be cursing our name. But
with $1 million in your pocket.
Listen, Antonina is nothing like her sister, but, she has ways to win. And I think that if she gets Chookagian down and she focuses on her grappling, which I believe she's been improving on. I think Chookagian's just she doesn't have ways to win other than maybe eke out a decision by yelling and inspiring the judges to give her points. But I hate Chookagian as a fighter, and I think Shevchenko wins this pretty easily.
So the only issue I have is that I could see this going like 15 minutes of them just like flapping around.
Yeah.
And not a whole lot going on. And the other thing too is that if you look at all their fights, Shevchenko's last fight she subbed Pudlova, but before that she lost to Roxanne Modaffari, which is confounding. And I think I played Modaffari, but I don't
recommend it.
But I mean, she's basically doesn't score well. Like Shevchenko scores like 70 to 80 best case scenario, even with a sub, and Chookagian, I mean, she's scoring like high 60s.
Yeah, I think you can avoid this fight pretty comfortably.
Like there's not
a lot of value in Antonina as a betting favorite.
You need a first-round sub or a first-round knockout, or like one of them to go like half limp there and just get.
Yeah, we've spent way too much time on this already, so I think we should move on.
Fine.
Hannah Cifers versus Mackenzie Dern. Is it Mackenzie Dern, or is it like an Instagram battle, or what do we get to do here?
Well, I think it helps that she didn't just give birth this time, as far as I know. That was a major
So are you going on the record on the internets, which live forever, saying you think Mackenzie Dern is motivated? Can you?
Oh no, I don't.
Can you say that to me? Because
I have no idea if she's motivated, but I know she's not breastfeeding in the middle of the night right now. At least I think she isn't.
Mackenzie Dern, just for a little background, has notoriously been known as like one of the most unmotivated professional athletes of all time, and even been kicked out of gyms for motivation reasons. So
I can respect that. I've been kicked out of places.
Yeah, for motivation reasons.
I don't know, but for reasons.
For reasons, yeah. But okay, so here's my take. Mackenzie Dern is better than Cifers because Cifers isn't very good. Mackenzie Dern has more ways to win in terms of she likes to bull rush in. She wants to try to take you down, and she wants to submit you on the ground, but she doesn't have a gas tank. She doesn't have good takedowns, and she doesn't have good striking. Now she throws wild haymaker punches, which have hit people in the past. But, I mean, this is one of those fights where you'll be watching it, and if you watch Mackenzie Dern bull rush in 3 times and fail, you're just going to watch the money like go away, because it will go away.
So this is like let me just reference the UFC's famous website here. It works wonderfully, by the way, technically brilliant. The significant strikes, it says Cifers scores 5 significant strikes per minute, Mackenzie Dern 3.2. That by itself is a big differential. You would say, okay, Cifers should outscore her. Grappling, what's weird is that it says Mackenzie Dern has 0.46 takedowns per minute. So, I'm confused when I think of Mackenzie Dern. I think of the submission person, but when I look at the actual stats, she has a win by decision, a win by sub, and a loss by decision.
But she has a popular Instagram.
True.
Okay. She takes bikini photos on her Instagram constantly. This is why people bet on her. She was a world champion, Glenn. Can we
pull that up? Can we share the screen? Are there recent bikini photos? Because My question for that is really last time when she fought against Ribas, she was coming back for like, I think she was back like too fast, like 2 months after giving
we
birth or
both were on
something.
Ribas. We were both heavily on Ribas in that fight, and that paid off big.
Yeah, but also I just had a baby. My wife just had a baby, but we had a new baby in the house, and my wife was still not super happy all the time immediately after having the baby. You know, it's like it
Yeah,
takes a little while.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to get in the gym. It's I just think that Mackenzie Dern has never. I mean,
You're also not sleeping.
Yeah, but Mackenzie Dern doesn't need to fight to make money, and that's one of the things about it. And with the questionable motivation being a thing in the past, until I see differently, I can't wager a ton of money on Mackenzie Dern, who has a really good chance to win this fight. Cifers should not be able to beat her really anywhere except maybe out volume her. Maybe it's gonna be, I don't know. It's just a tough. I mean, I don't know. This is a tough one for you.
Well, okay, so let's just look at it from a scoring point of view. If Mackenzie Dern wins in a decision against Yoder, she scores 70. Against Cooper, subs her first round, 117. First round subs, the ideal score here. Cifers, though, if we go the other way, where are you, Cifers? H Cipher. When she fights, she is winning with like 70 points. So kind of like, unless she was like 6,900, and even then it's like super, not great. I don't think there's any time where you want to take Cifers just based on her scoring history.
Yeah.
So even if she beats Mackenzie Dern, what does she do? She's going to score 40 strikes and land you a net like 50 points.
I think this is a more cautionary tale of Mackenzie Dern than a promotional tale of Hannah Cifers, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but also I don't think Cifers is going to knock out or knock down Dern, which is how she won one fight, and I don't think she's going to take her down because that doesn't seem logical at all. So she's going to just stand as far back as she can and just kind of pump it out. I don't see any way to really do well there. But if Mackenzie Dern gets her down once, maybe she can win the fight. If she gets her down twice in 2 separate rounds, she probably wins the fight. So the question is does she get her down or clinch her up on the cage?
I mean,
that's what it boils down to.
The small cage.
The old small cage routine. That's how they brought her in. They said, "Hey, Dern,
small cage.
We know you don't want to be in here.
Yeah.
We'll give you a smaller cage so you don't have to chase these girls around."
I mean, they would love Mackenzie Dern to win this fight, and they would love that. But
because she's like an actual quote unquote like pro
marketable
athlete, woman. Yeah. Like she's got skills and she's a black belt. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff there. I really think that she was looking okay, but in the previous fights, I think the pregnancy is what got her in the last one. I just don't think you can recover from giving birth that fast. For all my lady viewers out there, you leave a comment, but I think it's super hard to do.
Yeah, and I mean, but she should win this fight. I would love to see a motivated Mackenzie Dern. I think it's going to be tough during a quarantine. I don't know how long, what kind of training she's been doing. Some more stuff we got to look into. I think you look at the scales. If the scales show Dern in shape, that tells us a lot right there. So this is one of mine. Like, I'm not heavy on Dern until I see her come into the scales and see her come in shape. If she's in shape, she's had a big problem with that in the past. If she's in shape, she's a bet for me. If she's not, I'm avoiding it.
I also should look into more, but I wonder what she's been doing for the last, however many months. And
this is our lives now, just researching people's Twitters and Instagram.
Yeah, but I mean, quarantine's rough. Like, I personally have had many beers during the weekdays where I normally wouldn't. So if you're eating cookies and drinking booze all week, I mean, training's not easy.
What's your famous saying about fighters that you don't want to bet on? They're just eating cookies and hanging out?
Yeah, just eating cookies and hanging out, man. Like, yeah. You get a late notice call, you're eating cookies and hanging out. You're not ready to go. That's my whole point on Gabriel Green. I bet you he had a cookie this week. Do
you think Brok Weaver is eating cookies and hanging out?
Dude, I think Brok Weaver is. I don't want to say anything wrong. I think he is
a nutcase.
A super tough dude from a tough part of town who grew up with some tough people around him, and he's got a lot of ink.
He is the toughest guy at the barbecue, man.
And that's what his dudes who I you look at him and you're like, yikes! Like this is a dude you don't want to tussle with. That being said, I think Roosevelt Roberts is going to beat his ass.
Yeah, and probably strikes to submission
Yeah,
finish pretty early, but
yeah.
that's my
So
take.
the background on him, Brock Weaver, he had his debut in his last fight, and he fought against was it Varzula, something Zula Vargas. He fought against Vargas. Vargas is like a smaller Latin man, and he was putting it on him. Like he was sticking him, he was getting him on the cage, he was holding him down, and Brock Weaver didn't look good at all in the beginning of that fight. He looked like he got rocked a little bit. He just nothing about it looked like he knew how to. He didn't look like he knew how to get up. He didn't look like he had good cardio. He was huffing and puffing really hard. And Vargas was on him. Vargas then throws an illegal knee to the face while he's like kind of crouched. I don't know if he thought no one would see it or whatever, but he pounds him. They say it went out. I don't know if it went out or not, but he just kind of went limp and was laying there. Didn't look good.
No, that wasn't good.
So in my opinion, Vargas, who I think was also debuting potentially, or like a
He
newer
was
guy in the
debuting, I
UFC.
believe. Yeah.
So you have a guy who's debuting, who's just beating you up. Your next fight is against a guy who's got 4 fights in the UFC, knows how to sub people if he gets the back, and has really like pretty clean, nice striking. He throws straight punches. He can move around. He has good range. Like to me, it's like an upgrade. It's like you just got DQ'd, so you have a win. So now you have to fight a harder guy. And I think I mean, Roosevelt Roberts, I think, is better than Vargas. So it's like MMA math again. It's like, okay, you didn't do great against this guy. Here's a better guy. I don't know. Maybe they just want to see the man get beat up again, or I don't know. But
Well, I think they want to see him in action fights, but I don't know if Roosevelt Roberts is going to be his Huckleberry on the action fight thing. I mean, this is a pretty bad fight for Brock Weaver.
I think Roosevelt Roberts is actually a pretty smart guy. Just like from what I've seen of his fighting, he against his last fight, it's not great because it scores 53 points. I get it. I don't like it either. And he had a loss to the pickle before that. But in the 53-point fight, he's fighting Yakovlev, something Yakovlev.
Some demon from the nether realm.
He's been around for a long time. He's a tall, lungy, like punchy fighter. He's smart. He knows the game. He's basically fighting a veteran who can still take his head off if he lets him connect. So he wasn't trying to like brawl with this guy. He was trying to outpoint him, and if opportunities present themselves, take them. He looked fine fighting him. It just didn't score well.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're going to see. I think we're going to see an easy win for Roosevelt. And at some point, Brock's going to get frustrated and continue to try to press forward. Now, again, small cage, but
truth.
Yeah.
Small cage.
Small
it's always
cage.
A variable. There's always one variable.
So let's get to the next fight because we're on the same page with Roosevelt.
I'm not going to go ham on Roosevelt, though. Like I'm going to go hamish on Rodriguez. I'm going to move between my top guys there. I'll have like mixes of Roosevelt, Dern, stuff like that.
So Billy Q versus Spike C.
Finally.
This is a cool fight, honestly. I think this will win fight of the night. At least from my review.
The Woodley fight.
yeah. Does it ever win fight of the night?
I can't believe they even let him fight.
The most boring fighter of all time, but he is good. So let's talk about these two. So I remember you trashing what's it called? Another red-haired guy named Paul Felder. But so I don't know if you got something against the Reds, but
no,
Spike
nothing against the Cincinnati baseball team or just genetically red-haired follicle pupil. Just something about that one man that sets me off.
Yeah, so I think Spike throws some dynamic strikes. Got pretty good elbows. I think Quarantillo, he's going to be active, man. He's going to be a handful for Spike. I liked Quarantillo's volume and just his overall just like aggression. I think the grappling is going to be close to even, and let me know what you think about that. So, would you
think the grappling is going to be close to even?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
You think Quarantillo's got an edge?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the thing that I have a hard time with this because all the footage of Spike Carlyle is him outside the UFC fight where he fought like a freaking giant and head kicked him miraculously.
Right.
All his regional tape is him like one-shot stunnering people. Like everyone out there, he's just like his
Yeah.
pec hits them, they go unconscious. Like he just looks like he's just dropping everybody. So you can't really get a lot of good information. Like you don't see him on his back, like working from the guard. You don't see him up on the cage. You don't see like it's all just like really fast, frantic, boom, boom, boom. You know, my red hair touched you and you're dead. It goes really fast. Like I can't learn much about him other than the fact that he looks super athletic. And in the fight against the Giant in the UFC, he was kicking this guy at one point, and what it reminded me of was like some of those Tiger Muay Thai guys who have like really really sharp, fast, powerful kicks, like or like a what is it? The City Kickboxing in Australia. Like it reminds me of that. Like these guys who they can just snap, like in the leg is on you and it's powerful.
Yeah.
I also see in the way that he's in his stance. Like this is pretty detailed because there's like not much to watch, but he's on the bottom. He's on like his tippy toes, right? And he's bouncing around the balls of his feet. He's on the balls of his feet. He's got a wide stance, so he's ready to kick, and he like frolics in there real fast. And he's closing distance quick. He's ready to strike all the time, and I think he does probably have some kind of power. Even in the regional tape, I don't think you'd knock out that many people that many different ways. If it was fluky or like if they were just it's regional or whatever, like it wasn't TKOs. Like he wasn't just like slowly pumping like
Yeah, he's
butter
putting guys
paste
to
on
sleep.
him. Yeah, people are falling down. I mean, it looked pretty legit. He also looks ripped out of his mind.
Yeah.
So I view this as like in my mind like a kind of a power kickboxer striker, dynamic striker. So I think everything he's going to throw is going to be
I
dangerous.
think dynamic is a good word. I think Carlyle is Spike is very, very dynamic and dangerous. I think dangerous is a good word for him. I think he can score a finish on anybody that's reasonably at his level.
Yeah, I mean the
question you have is Billy Q a level above him? Is the question.
Well, I look at it as like the matchup because Billy Q in all his debut and like a little bit of the stuff I saw in his earlier fights, he will get a hold of guys and he's really good. Like he can move around, he can take the back, go to the side. He'll keep moving. He'll have locks on, body locks. He aggressively throws submission attempts. Like he subs a lot of people. It looks good. And the best part is when he's on your back or he's flattening you out or whatever, he's throwing punches pretty much the whole time. So they say his cardio is like unparalleled, which it looked pretty much like that. I think there's going to be like a size discrepancy though. I think Spike Carlyle is going to look like he just ate a lumberjack before he walks in there. And I think Billy Q is going to look small and skinny compared to him, which again kind of is like the power thing. Like if you're that big and you're the same weight, he's probably going to have a lot of power. The question is, which I think there's not or a lot of tape, is one, this guy usually goes one round. He's in for 10 seconds. He celebrates. He's out. Two, you don't really see him on his back. And I saw him giving like an instructional jiu-jitsu video, but I mean, I don't know how much that tells you. Like you and I could do that. Doesn't mean I'm fighting next week. I just think there's a lot of unknowns. And so it makes me a little bit wary of saying Billy Q is going to rope this guy up or Spike Carlyle is just going to knock him out. And I don't think Billy Q's been knocked out before either. So it's like you have two young, fresh guys. Like they don't have a lot of damage on them. I just don't think it's going to happen.
That's why I kind of, for some reason, I got this gut feeling this is going to be a war.
It might be like an incredible fight to watch if it goes back and forth. But the way I see it going is Spike Carlyle is going to come out there. He's going to bounce over to him. He's going to throw a couple of kicks or something goofy. He's probably going to catch Billy Q. Billy Q is going to be like, oh, no. And as he's going back, they're going to get into some grappling exchange where he like gets his head back and then he's rolling around with this guy. Where it goes from there, who knows? But it could also just be the one-punch stunner. And if that happens, then I think maybe you got to just consider this guy's like a freak and you got to watch out.
Yeah, could be. We're both pretty excited for. I would say I'm excited for his debut though, or
I'm
not his debut, but his second fight. It's his second fight in the UFC.
Sophomore effort.
Yeah, sophomore effort.
To be
from
honest,
both guys.
I'm gonna bet both though.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
in DraftKings.
yeah, right. So you're gonna have both.
Yeah. I mean,
I think I'm going to be on Spike a little more because I think he's the more dynamic guy, but that's just.
But if he slows down after the first like 3 minutes or 4
Oh, yeah,
minutes,
this could look very bad.
he could get held down and lose real bad. I
Agree.
mean, he
Yeah.
might get beat on for the next 10.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing, but it's an unknown because I literally don't think there's. He went to the decision one time. I've been looking at this all night. Let me see. I got him right here. The Alpha Ginger.
He's something, isn't he?
He's like one round, 3 back in 2019 against Fernando Padilla. 2 against Brian Del Rosario. 3. He lost to a guy 3 rounds, and then it's all 1-rounders. I don't know. I just don't think there's a ton of footage.
Yeah.
Most of the footage is nothing. It's like, bang, you're out.
It's a highlight reel is what it is.
Basically, yeah. I mean, there's a little bit in between, but there's not anything super relevant.
But you know me, I love my highlight reel fighters. So
listen, if he if he comes in there and does a Ngannou Alistar Overeem like boom to the moon, and Billy Quarantillo's like flying through the roof of the Las Vegas Training Center, then good for him. But if he just gets rained on for 10 minutes until he gets choked out, then I'm a Billy Q man.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a good fight to see where Billy is, and if he can not get touch of death here by some of these elbows and big dynamic strikes at Carlyle, I think we might have ourselves something in Billy Q.
Yeah, because the grappling's awesome. The grappling's super good. And I see he went to Gracie Tampa South. Shout out to Tampa.
There you go. So let's go.
I wish them fight of the night. I hope they both get $50,000, and whoever I have in my optimal lineup checks in.
I think I'll be honest. I think that one has a great potential to be fight of the night.
It'd be that or Chookagian and Schevchenko.
Get out of here. It's certainly not going to be the next fight. Augusto Sakai versus Blagoy Ivanov. I'll tell you straight up, I've got Sakai. I think that Sakai is a more dynamic striker. I think Ivanov is just going to get hit a lot. I don't think he might not be able to put him away. But hopefully Sakai doesn't fall in love with just his hands, because he does have, good kicks and good Muay Thai. He can strike with his elbows. He can do a lot of different things in terms of striking. But, Ivanov is just like a plotter. He's flat-footed. He's got a straight left and he throws a right hook, but that's about it. I mean, I think Sakai is just really
did you see
more
when he
varied.
fought Big Ben? He won a decision against Big Ben.
Who? Blagoy?
Blagoy, yeah, Blagoy.
Yeah. We've seen him fight live, and it's a real torturous sight, to be honest with you.
It's a real treat, is what it is. Yeah. So Bulgaria, I hope he brings a flag, but overall, I mean, he's bad. He's small. He's an undersized heavyweight. His output is terrible. I mean, there's not much you can say. He doesn't really grapple. He doesn't. I guess he throws a kick here and there, but he's not known for any kind of kicking. I don't think he has any kind of submissions. I'm just looking at some of his stats here. He's short. Sorry.
Hey man, these guys are gonna pull their sponsorship if you keep making fun of Italians.
Yeah, but doesn't that come from Italy?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so I mean, you're home with that water company. His reach is statistically short, so it's an advantage for Sakai. There's just nothing good you can say about Blagoy, other than he's from Bulgaria, which is great. But other than that, I just don't see anything interesting about him whatsoever.
Yeah, agreed. I think Sakai's a more dynamic fighter. I think at 8,200, he's a big play. I think he'll be highly owned, but let's do it.
He somehow actually scored 87 points against Tuivasa, but it says he had 2 takedowns against Tuivasa.
I didn't see it. No, he did. Ivanov? Remember that was in Chicago. We saw that fight. They were gross body lock takedowns. They were not technically sound at all.
It was just falling to the mat, right?
Yeah.
Hugging and falling.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
Tuivasa is
hugging and
bad at
phone.
that for some reason too.
Yeah, well, we can go an hour on Tuivasa disappointments, but
I
let's
just missed the shoey, man.
yeah, I know.
But what's her name? The girl you like over there, Megan Anderson. Wasn't she doing shoeys after the last fight?
She was, yeah. She's got the weirdest stoppages ever. Remember when she kicked the girl in the eye with the
Yeah, she
toe?
kicked. I think it was
Yeah.
Jessica I. It wasn't
Oh
Jessica
yeah.
I. She kicked.
No, I don't think it was Jessica. I forgot who it was, but
Yeah, I
um
remember. I had her too. I had her. I was like, I
yeah.
think this girl's gonna do well. And then she wins by DQ in the first round. I was like,
No, she didn't win by DQ. It was like
yeah.
they had to stop the fight because she hit her
Or
in the
was it a
eye.
TKO?
Yeah,
TKO
they
might.
considered
Yeah.
it a TKO, and because she like poked her in the eye with her toe.
So the cut those toenails.
Um,
The moral of the story with Igor Blagoy is like at 8,000 or whatever he is, 8,000. He's never scored really that well, so there's almost no chance of it happening.
Muay Thai, baby. Let's go, Sakai. Big fat
Yeah.
Muay Thai.
Also, Sakai is 3-0, and I think he's doing okay. Like he shut down Tybura, which is what you should do at this point in Tybura's career. He beat Arlovsky, which is like it was a bad fight. I didn't enjoy watching it, but
But
it's good.
Arlovsky stands 100 feet away. I mean, how
Yeah,
do
but it's
you
good in the sense that he was able to like kind of outduel the old tricky veteran. Like it's bad that he didn't knock him out. It's good that he won. And Chase Sherman, he beat by TKO. So I mean, I don't hate him. I don't think he's good. I think he's small too for the division, but he can score potentially better. And at 8,200, if he can score 108 like he did against Tybura, or even a little bit less, it's still plausible that it works out.
Yeah, I think it's a good play in DraftKings, and I think it's a good bet. I'll be on him.
If you want to go deep in the rat hole, if you wanted to just have like the ball buster lineup, you have a Blagoy, Ivanov, Stickler in there. If you had one lineup with him, he could knock out Sakai
I mean,
or
just
bear hug him to
again,
death 5 times.
real American dollars will not be wagered on Ivanov.
Thank you. All right, agreed. But if you have Bulgarian money, you could put a little on him.
Again, this is a completely different talk. We start talking about game theory and Bulgarian money. I mean, anything is open.
If you have Bulgarian dollars, I think you put a few on him, but probably just a few.
Yeah. So Gilbert Burns and Tyron Woodley.
Mm-hmm.
I think, man, I've had a roller coaster of, I would say, just like a roller coaster of emotion, of all kinds of different. I've bet on T Wood. I've hated T Wood. I've liked T Wood. I've gone back and forth. When everybody hates him, I like him. When everybody likes him, I hate him. It's just like, I don't know, man. I think yes, that's the Paul Felder take.
That's in short, he sucks. Like
you hate him because
I don't hate him. I'm not like that. But I just think he sucks. I think he's everyone knows he's boring to watch. He is. Even when he knocks somebody out, it's boring. Like because you're like lulled into this like sense of like when is this going to end, and then you're like thank God it's over. The problem is that like
but how can you hate this guy when he knocked out the guy you hate the most in Carlos Condit?
Yeah, I mean,
knocked out Carlos Condit. You hate him the most.
Yeah, but a stiff breeze could knock out Carlos Condit right now.
Oh, I mean, that was way back in 2014. But all right, so
let's the biggest scam that's ever happened in the UFC. But yeah, so if we look at this though, all of Woodley's wins, even dating back to 14, like okay, he's beat some recognizable names. Like he beats Gastelum in a decision. He scores 44
I'm not gonna talk trash on Woodley's run, man. Woodley had a real nice run.
But
I think the run's over. I think Gilbert Burns is ready to take the next step.
He has a draw with Thompson. He's scoring in 5 rounds. He's scoring in some cases less than 50 points. That shouldn't even be possible. How do you win a fight? I guess it's a draw, so there's no buffer there. But he won, and another one he had 75 points with a win. What did they give you, like 30 points or something for the 5th round win?
Yeah.
What is he doing? Like, I know what he's doing. He puts his back against the fence, and he's going to try and just wait for it, and he's going to throw his shot. But that's like super old man fighting. Like you have 3 punches in the tank, and you're going to wait 2.5 minutes between them so you don't get tired. he beat Damian Maia in a decision. Props to him for not getting submitted. He beats Darren Till, which I think has been exposed a little bit, is maybe not the highly touted English phenom that they want him to be.
There was something weird in that fight too, where I thought that Till had like a real bad weight cut or something. I'm trying to remember what happened.
I think it
But
was an 18. Is like we're probably half in the
because
bag.
I watched the tape of that, and it was just Woodley had a good performance, but I thought there was something weird with that fight. I couldn't remember, but here's the thing. I mean, he got dominated by Kamaru Usman. The pressure of Usman just broke him. He
just laid on his side for like 3 rounds.
Yeah,
he wouldn't die, but like he just wouldn't go away either.
Yeah, and I just felt like Usman had the perfect game plan to just stay on top of him and pressure him, because he couldn't really load up and throw his big shot. And I think Burns trains with Henry Hooft at the same gym as Kamaru Usman. They know the game plan. It's get on top of him immediately. And I don't think Woodley can out-grapple Burns. There's no way. Burns is a world champion. He's one of the best. He's one of the best grapplers in the world.
Burns is also aggressive takedown grappler.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think. Okay, Burns is not as good of a wrestler as Usman. We can't say that he is, but will he get on top of Woodley and not be afraid to be like body with Woodley? He's not going to be afraid. Now, Woodley might be able to stop a takedown and might be able to keep him. But I mean, is Woodley going to be able to separate and throw the big shot? Is the question.
And is he going to be able to do that for 5 rounds?
Like continuously separate and throw his big shot, because he's more dangerous early in the fight. But as that fight wears on, I mean, Woodley's 38. If he gets
be more worried about Burns throwing a shot too. They both fought Damian Maia. Woodley goes 3 rounds or 5 rounds and has a decision with them and scores no points. Gilbert Burns walked in and just silenced Damian Maia. Like he just was like, "Pop, good night, thank you. Who's next?" I think the athleticism and the age is totally different between those 3 guys. But I think you see what happens between Woodley and Maia, and you see what happens between Burns and Maia. So MMA math again is like you might have a more athletic guy in your hands with Burns, who also has the ability to wrestle. And Woodley's not getting any younger. I mean, I think he's really just going to throw haymakers a few times, try to sit with his butt on the cage, small cage. So he's not going to have a lot of room to run. Not that he does. He usually wants to just stand on the cage. But I think at some point, probably fairly regularly, Burns will be able to take him down. And that even if he doesn't finish him, he's going to land enough and have enough control time to win. Do you know why Woodley is the favorite in this fight? Is it just because he's like a household name?
Yeah, I think it's his name and name recognition. And obviously the competition level has been different.
But I feel like Gilbert Burns beat Gunnar Nelson, who's like a good wrestler, and Schevchenko.
Yeah, but I mean, we can't. I mean, I hate MMA. I know you love MMA math. No, I'm like on the opposite end. I hate it.
It's a relative comparison is all.
I think that Woodley, if Woodley has been training, which we don't know if he has, I don't think Woodley's motivated. I think that he's already advancing onto the stages after his career, and I thought that showed in the movie or something. Yeah, he's doing movies, he's rapping. I mean, there's nothing about him training there. I mean, and he's not bad at any of those things. That's the thing. He has a career after fighting. So how focused is he? And I just don't think that focus level is going to be very high. I think that Burns he's going to be, again, back to the ascending. I think you're going to see a big breakout performance from Gilbert Burns in this fight.
Yeah, I also think Gilbert Burns' confidence is kind of like unflagging right now because he moved up a weight class. He's got 4 wins.
Well, he shed. He shed his biggest worry, which was he had problems with his cardio when he was cutting a lot of weight, and it seems that his cardio issues have been resolved. So
yeah, but I mean, if you have 4 fights in essentially just over a year, you win all 4. 2 of them, 1 sub, 1 TKO, and 2 decisions.
And I mean, honestly, the improvement I've seen, Henry Hooft takes these world-class grapplers like Usman and Burns, and he just turns these guys into monsters. Dynamic strikers. They just get better every fight. I mean, if Henry Hooft is not the best coach in the world right now, I mean, I don't know.
When I retire, I'm gonna take on some guy and teach him to fight. I'll be a coach. Not that
There
I
you
can
go.
teach him to fight. I just tell him based on gambling what you should and shouldn't do.
There you go. Write him a gambling review, and then they'll just become gambling MMA bettors instead.
This is why you suck.
They'd be like, "Why
Paul
would I get
Felder.
punched? Why would I get punched in the face when I can just make money off betting in DraftKings?"
You know what Paul Felder should do when he's eventually
Dude.
retires, hopefully soon? He should get a contract with Old Spice because they got that red deodorant stick. He would be perfect next to that thing.
He's gonna beat your ass someday.
It's all right. I'm married to a dentist.
Yeah, that's amazing. On that note, who's your? Let me get your favorite underdog of the card and your lock of the night. Like you think they're gonna win.
So I think the lock of the night's Daniel Rodriguez, and favorite underdog, I guess
Can't be Daniel Rodriguez.
it can't be.
No. Isn't he like a minus 400 favorite?
I said no. Lock of the night is Rodriguez. He's minus 360.
Yeah, that doesn't count. You got to do a different one.
I think
nobody needs a podcast to tell them that.
All right. I'll give you some tips then. I mean, the underdog for me is Gilbert Burns for sure. I think
that's
the
good.
only problem that you have with Burns and Woodley is that Woodley could just knock him out, or something could happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a super low chance though. Like the chance that Woodley's going to knock him out just one punch, good night in the first round, probably not going to happen. I think Burns is going to get in there, wear him out, beat him, take him to shed, and Woodley will be back on Spotify rapping or whatever he does. And as far as like other dogs, I think that Spike Carlyle is really interesting. That Carlyle and Billy Q fight will tell us a lot for the next time we see them, I think.
Yep. I agree. Those are good picks. I've got as a dog. Oh man, this is tough because you took my Gilbert Burns one. But as a dog, I like Brandon Royval. I think that guy is going to show something against Tim Elliott. And as just like a lock, I think is going to win. I think Sakai is going to win against Ivanov.
Yeah. One thing about Elliott and Royval, I have a feeling that Tim Elliott's going to look a lot bigger than Brandon Royval, just from the tape I've seen. Mm-hmm. But we'll see at the weigh-ins. It could play a factor too.
I think the weigh-ins in the small cage, right?
That tiny cage. It's going to be small in there.
I'm trying to find updated odds on is the Tim Elliott fight off?
No. It's right here. He went down to minus 160. Maybe it was minus 170. He's minus 165 right now.
Okay.
He's come down from, I think, minus 190. And Woodley's still way up there.
Man, that I don't understand. Because, I mean, I guess people are saying that he is going to knock Gilbert Burns out. That's, I guess, the bet.
Well, we can look at the inside the distance line right now.
I mean,
fight goes to decision. Fight doesn't go to decision, minus 175. So they think it's potentially going to end early, but all by Woodley.
There you go.
What do you think? Burns inside the distance?
Interesting. I don't know if Usman didn't put Woodley away. I don't know. We'll have to see. But
dude,
yeah, I like plus 140 for Brandon Royval. I think is a pretty solid bet.
Let me send one bit of fun gambling advice out there. If you want to just take a flyer and say Gilbert Burns is going to aggressively beat Woodley, you can bet that Gilbert Burns wins by TKO or KO in the first round, and it pays plus 1,400.
That's a pretty fun little prop there.
That's like if you want to throw $20 out there and let it burn. That's one that could be fun at the end of the night. 10, 12 beers in and that cashes. You'll be having a good time.
yeah, that you would. I would like to see some more props out at this stage of the game, but I don't see a ton. There's only a few. But anyways, that's a good prop. I'd be down for that.
All right. Well, thanks any of you out there in the galaxy watching, and hopefully there was at least one tiny pearl of wisdom that was useful. If you have any comments, feel free to post anything you like. If you have any suggestions, comments, we're gonna get some timestamps in there this week.
Yeah.
We're slowly improving our marketing.
Yep.
There will
We
be
have
no
sponsors
screens,
now.
but yeah, we're trying. We're sponsoring the sponsors right now.
Also, by you watching this all the way to the end, this is also like Shark Tank, so we get 3% of all your gambling winnings. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks.